nothing logic. I'm not really trusting myself. After this teaser hopefully got some of your attention, the first thing I'd like you to know is that this video is not craving for attention or pity at all. It is a very personal and intimate thing to me. But even though I documented myself, I don't want this video to be about me. I want it to be about the issue itself, about something that can only hardly be expressed by words or pictures alone. And a thing you might not even feel when the person right next to you would experience it right in this moment. So I guess what I'm trying to say is there are many reasons I'm doing this, but I'm trying this video somehow may help somebody who will go through something similar. This is the story of what happened to me somewhere in India, all on my own, and how I dealt with it. This is the story of how I had a nervous breakdown. The last days were probably the 3 most devastating, horrible, and I can't even do this recording. I am currently in a city called Karnal. Kat is still at the Vipassana. This is the first time for me and Kat being separated in half a year throughout this travel, but also the first in 11.5 years being separated without any possible communication. I really need to leave this room. When you're thinking, whatever happened, whatever the reason is for me to act so weird, going out in general is a good thing, yes, but in my case it's more like the day I checked in the hotel, I came into the room, locked the door, immediately unlocked it, because it's hard for me to stay in a... That must sound so stupid. I'm anxious to stay in locked rooms at the moment, so there is a bolt, there is another bolt, I don't use this. There's a screen door. The only bolt I'm really locking is this one, and yeah, there is another thing I wanted to talk with you about, but a funny thing happened. Yesterday I said for the first time out loud that I'm anxious to be in a locked room, and subconsciously, I don't know what happened, but I started closing doors again. I would close the door, being all crazy about that someone locked me in because I forgot that I did it. I like to keep the doors open for now. I just feel better with that. And the other thing I wanted to tell you is, like, usually when I'm on roofs or somewhere up high, I like to go to the edges and stuff. I'm not doing that at the moment. I'm not really trusting myself, and I think that's enough of weirdness. I really need to tell you what happened. Yesterday was also the first day without shedding any tears. I know that this isn't the most quiet place to talk, but I like the roof. It's an open space and I feel comfortable here. I started editing these videos, these clips yesterday. I couldn't believe how I looked and how I felt, and I believe it is hard to really understand what happened if you never experienced something like that. This is a very short version of a quite long story. In general, I believe that Vipassana is a good thing. The whole idea behind it is the thing is, I never really wanted to go. From the beginning, I was telling Kat, I don't want this, I don't want this. I'm blaming no one, really no one, but me for going in there. It ended all up on the first day. I'm not a doctor, not a psychologist. I think I had a nervous breakdown. For some people, I can imagine it is like, well, nervous breakdown, everybody has that. I had a burnout here, burnout there, but for me it was really devastating. There was like the... If you watched the last vlog, you know that I already came in with a lot of negativity and doubt, and I felt very lost. That ended up multiplying. No communication, limited space to move, no physical activities except for meditation, strict schedule. All these things can be very positive and help you, but if you don't want them, if you've ever experienced some kind of depressive feeling where you get trapped in this circle of negativity and you can't break out, this time it was more like the negativity would amplify. I would feel trapped, then I would feel helpless, then I would doubt everything I do, then I would feel weak, and at the end I would feel worthless. And on this last stage I had one thought that absolutely devastated me and scared the shit out of me. And what I physically crippling crying fits. I wouldn't be able to stand up from bed at times. I would hang on to the door trying to open it, sink to my knees and just after the day is over, you would find me on the outside area, sunken to my knees on the concrete. I know that it's nothing reasonable, nothing logic. It's so I just gave up. You might imagine that it's easy to get out. It's not that easy to get out. I had to go out so that no one sees me. I had to walk for 20-30 minutes through a village with no one speaking English. I was very paranoid and anxious, which from what I understand, that this is just part of also a nervous or a mental breakdown. I'm talking about symptoms when I'm talking about myself. I also know that this is no medical term at all. It's just, I still don't really know what happened. Eventually I found someone who could help me. Once in the tuk-tuk, I just got one crying fit after the other. Reaching the hotel, I really would feel relief. I always got this picture in my head that I have to sleep with my fucking big backpacks and luggage in the streets of some city in India. There was no one I could call, no one I could tell what happened. Like I just felt no one could really help me. So I just did that one thing that would help, and I took action and I tried to reach the bank by any means. When I finally got in the hotel and they unblocked the card, that was like the first real win I got, and from that point on I knew what to do. The battery died and all the other batteries and the charger there with Cat. Up until this point you probably figured out we did not really think through what we would do and what would happen if one of us quits the course. But I think I've figured something out about the battery problem. They have an actual Canon, and Sony and Samsung, like it's all together one store, but well, they ordered a battery for me. It's not fully charged, but better than nothing, right? Exactly 1 week has passed now, and I'm feeling, I still can't believe myself, like how great I'm feeling. I'm feeling really happy. 4th day, that was the first day without crying. On the 5th day, I started crying again, but this time dancing on the roof and out of pure happiness and joy, and it just, I believe the main reason for why that happened is that I took immediately action. On the day I checked in, I got my food, was so happy I almost cried that finally everything somehow worked out. Then I started working out, then I started creating something. I started immediately fixing things, fix my finances, track my expenses. Haven't done that for months. I would fix my laptop screen that fell apart for I don't know how long. I fixed my diet that was messed up for I don't know, a year or maybe even longer. And then I would immediately the next day I would apply a routine. And by routine I don't mean some everyday thing that is boring and somehow takes you throughout the day, but I mean I would do every day all the things that I love. nice, right? I thought I would be telling you about my routine today. I'm doing a day trip instead. All on my own. Can't remember when I did that Did I ever do that? See, the cool thing with routine is that once you've established one, I feel like you can just break it on your own terms so that you really feel that you have the power to make your own day and your own rules. And I'm not feeling bad about it. Today is not really working out like I wanted it to, so I'm out of ideas. Yeah, sorry, but get ready for a time skip. Let's just say it took a little bit of time to have at least one fully charged battery. What I want to do now is to break down the specific routine I actually had. Breakdown, you know, because break, too soon, I had a breakdown. It still doesn't feel good to say that. The third day was the day where I realized that what I was going through does not have to be a punishment, a problem, or a challenge, but maybe it's just a chance to grow. That changed everything around, because suddenly my mind started just getting clearer, and I realized that for everything that happened, that this whole breakdown thing, there were 3 triggers. I felt trapped. I felt like I gave up on my freedom. I felt weak. Not physically weak, but as a person in my mind. The third thing was that I would feel worthless to a point beyond any rationality and logic. And what I did was to take those negative mindsets, those affirmations, and turn them into something positive. So instead of thinking, I don't want to feel trapped, I would start thinking, I want to feel free. And I did that by, for instance, organizing my day in the morning. So I would know, okay, every decision I take now in the morning will not stress me out later and give me the freedom to do whatever I want to do. The whole routine thing, just setting it up, actually does not mean to feel trapped for me, but means freedom to me, because I'm doing all the things I would like to do and all the things I love, just the way I want them to do. That's freedom to me. So I stayed offline. I would use the internet, but I would not use any social media. Really just to be for myself and to understand myself. Another thing I did every day was to go out, really just go out and take a walk for 1 or 2 hours, be on my own alone with my thoughts. When I would consume something like YouTube videos, I would limit the entertaining stuff to 1 video or 1 thing, and the rest, all the podcasts and videos, would be stuff that would encourage me, motivate me, or where I would learn something. Instead of thinking, I don't want to feel weak, I would start thinking, I want to feel strong. And to feel strong, training, actually physical activity, is super, super important to me. It's not only that physical activity makes me feel free because I just stop thinking and I'm absolutely in the moment. It also makes me realize that I'm actually strong, that there's something left in this body, that I can do something and that I can keep pushing. Other things that would make me feel strong is just find little small messages every here and there, and also actually editing. I never have the perfect shots. I'm always improvising, and this is kind of problem solving on and on and on and on again. So it just makes me realize I can solve problems. I can do this. I'm doing this all the time. The last thing, the worthless thing, that's a very special one to me. So I started thinking, okay, I want to be heard, which isn't good. That's not positive. That's not a good thing to do. And what I did with that last trigger, that last affirmation, I really want to keep for the end, because it's a very important and very special one to me. There's one thing I would like to address. There's one thing I didn't do. I absolutely do not recommend. What I didn't do was to contact anyone or tell anyone what happened to me and how I feel. That is a stupid, stupid, stupid idea. I did this all on my own, but that's nothing to be proud of. That's just insanely stupid. Don't do that. I will tell you later more about this at the end of the video. And before we leave and go to day 10, which is the reunion day, I want to tell you about another thing. There were 2 things they told me at the Vipassana. I already told you that did not really understand what was going on, which is also because mental health in India is not really an issue, well, not a popular issue, however you want to put it. And they kept telling me one thing that is right and one thing that I still consider very wrong and that actually hurt me the most. They told me that everything I was doing was based on my decisions. I decided to go to the Vipassana. I decided to feel trapped, to feel weak, and to feel worthless. And I also decided to leave the Vipassana and, well, leave without cat and all these consequences behind it. That was actually very, very true. At the beginning I didn't want to hear it, but they were just right. Everything I did, everything that happened was based on my decisions, and I just had to accept that. The same as I would take decisions to start feel better. The other thing they told me, there was a moment when they would start telling me that I'm not acting strong with really hurt. And it even got to the point that someone would tell me that I'm weak, really weak. See, I already felt weak, not only because I felt like I've kind of imprisoned myself and I was not strong enough to just take my own decisions, but the other thing was that I felt horribly weak because I felt like I would leave Kat alone. Like I wasn't strong enough to go through all this with her. I was not strong enough to keep up with her, and I was just not strong enough to keep my emotions together and be the strong man that she, well, Kat and me, when we met, I was quite depressive at times. I did not believe in myself anytime. I really just felt that life was a horrible thing that would torture me on and on. And she was, well, pretty much the only light in my life at this moment, which sounds pretty dark, but actually wasn't. But I just couldn't see that at this time. And I've just grown to be a person for her that she somehow even started to look up to and recognize as someone strong. And that just really, really hurt. Feeling myself to being someone that cannot stand up for himself, that cannot do anything, and just really was crying for help. This was also the thought that I had to fight with the most throughout all this process, because I would always think, when we see each other, will she be a different person? Will she maybe hate me? Maybe she doesn't even want to see me. See all these negative scenarios that are only happening in my head, and I would always have to remind myself that's just in my head. Whatever happens will happen, but I want to see the positive scenario. I want to see this. We're already at the Vipassana Center. Kat and me, we just got a WhatsApp message from her. Okay, yeah. It seems like we will see each other in a matter of seconds. Minutes, seconds. We'll see. I'm nervous. It's quite interesting, you know. I thought I would come here very ashamed of myself about all what happened and how I behaved, but not at all. I just feel good. I see her. I see her. There are a few background noises, but I can't really change it. There's no easy way to say this. The whole purpose of this video, and in the beginning I didn't even know why I documented this, and I want you to know that whatever happened nearly 2 weeks ago, it's not over yet. All that negativity that was there is here, and I appreciate that, because it makes me just realize every day that what happened is, even though I didn't feel like who I really am at those first day at all, it just reminds me that it all was very real. And while having this 2-day nervous breakdown, I had a thought I did not have since my teenage years. For a very long time, it was the first time I thought about ending my life, about killing myself. As a teenager, I thought about it quite often. And the reason this just hit me so hard was I want to live. I really want to live, and I have dreams and I have visions and I want to achieve that all. So it was even harder to take that. It's somehow, like, I think it can be normal when you have a nervous breakdown that you have suicidal thoughts, but it was also the reason I was anxious to stay in locked rooms, because I was afraid of myself and scared of myself, like the same thing with the edges, and I'm away from that. but it's still, it really made me realize that no matter where I am and where I stand in life and how confident I may get and how many obstacles I may overcome, somewhere deep inside of me this thought was still living and maybe is still living. A lot of people think that creating, doing and working stuff is not a good thing, and it pressures too much and it is work and you should take more time to relax and all this. But for me, I just realized a very important point, and that is when I create something and I don't share it, but I just create something from nothing, just for myself, it makes me proud. And it makes me proud without anyone being there. And did you ever think that isn't it strange that we live in a world where we are so much depending on others and what others say about us and to us? But we never realize that it's just because all the others around us, the whole system, the whole society, depends on us. And once you break out of the circle, once you're not there anymore, it feels like you're really become free. I don't need anyone to tell me that they're proud of me, because I already am fucking proud of the person I've become and who I'm growing to be. I also said that my biggest flaw in this whole process was not communicating, and that definitely is, because on the day before Kat and me, before we reunited, I realized when you don't tell anyone about how you feel and about having those thoughts inside of you, how is anyone supposed to help you? See, the real selfish act is to keep your mouth shut. It hurts to realize that you're the asshole. But it feels good to know that. It's so fucked up, you know. It's just so easy to keep your mouth shut and just after a few days be like, yeah, well, that was a phase, that was nothing, that was not so. It is important. It is important that the people around you, the people who love you, have the chance to say something or to do something to help you. There was something else I wanted to say. I wrote it down, but fuck. You see, I don't want this. I don't want this to be, in any point, in any kind, be a video for attention, for pity, or for whatever. But what I really want you to know is that all the people you meet in your life, all of them may had this thought at some time in their life, may have this thought right now, or maybe will have this thought somewhere in the future, and it is just impossible to see it, to hear it, or to feel it. So what I just want you to know is that, I mean, it sounds cheesy, but I think we all have to be way nicer to each other and think way more about what is happening to people and what people may go through, even though you're not see it. See, I don't have a story to share where I was abused or where something horrible happened to me, some crazy trauma or whatever, but still, society, pressure, everything all around me made me as a teenager end my life on a daily basis, and somehow this thought survived in me, and it's crazy, it's scary, it's all those things you don't want. And people all around the world, people everywhere, may feel the same. So I don't know, I think I want to remind myself, and maybe through this video some more people, that whatever happens, and especially in this internet age with social media and everything, where we sometimes have such a big distance between each other and between our emotions, our hearts, and the things we say and the things we do, that on the other side, no matter how far or close a person is to you, it is always a person, it is always someone with a beating heart, working brain, a working and processing mind that is feeling emotion and might get hurt if you do not take care of each other. there's just no more space for hate and envy in my life. I don't want this. I really want to see more compassion and love in my life, and I think I have to get rid of a lot of things. Not just to feel better, but just to make my life kind of a better place. More worthy living. I think that's how you overcome the feeling of feeling worthless.